everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet the birthday crown. Now I designed this pattern probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I had it set up where it was one size, and so what we did is we calculated out 4 sizes: a toddler, a child, a youth, and an adult. So anybody can have a crown for their birthday. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make this crown, you're going to need between 2 and 3 ounces of a chunky number 5 yarn. And I say 2 to 3 ounces because it depends on what size you make, and we'll talk more about the sizing when we get started. Now, the crown is made with a chunky number 5 yarn, but if you don't have a chunky number 5 yarn on hand, you can use 2 strands of a medium number 4. But keep in mind, you're going to need to measure as you go, because 2 strands are going to work up just a little bit bigger than 1 strand of our chunky number 5. This one is made with the Charisma from Loops and Threads. It's this gold. It's called yellow. It's a bright gold. And like I said, it is a chunky number 5. I'm going to be doing today's demonstration with this blue. And this is the chunky number 5 from Hobby Lobby. I don't have the label on it because I don't remember when I got it. I've just had it for a while, and I thought it would work out really nice. All right, now you can use different kinds of buttons, or this one's a pen. If you want to embellish it, it's totally up to you. If you want to add buttons or pens or jewels or anything to the crown. All right, or you can just leave it plain. They're beautiful both ways. We're going to be stitching with our J hook. It's a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need scissors, and then you'll need a needle, and make sure that you have a needle with a nice big eye for weaving in those ends, because you don't want to make it difficult to get the yarn through the needle. We're going to be starting with what's called a foundation double crochet, and the amount of foundation double crochets that you need depends on the size. So what we're going to do is, if you're making the toddler size, and the toddler size measures 16 inches around, you're going to need to stitch 32 foundation double crochets, because 2 foundation double crochets equal 1 inch. And that's approximately, because remember, some people stitch tighter than others. All right, so if you're going to stitch the toddler size, which is 16 inches, you need to stitch 32 foundation double crochets. If you're going to stitch the child size, which is 18 inches, you'll need to stitch 36 foundation double crochets. If you're stitching up the youth size, which is a 20-inch crown, you'll need to stitch 40 foundation double crochets. If you're stitching up an adult size, which is 22 inches, you'll need to stitch 44 foundation double crochets. One thing to keep in mind is that the crown itself is very stretchy, and you don't want it to stretch out and fall off. So make sure that you make it just a smidge snug so it stays on the person's head. I'm going to be making the child size, which is 18 inches, and I'm going to be stitching 36 foundation double crochets. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over and go in the 4th chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and just go through the first loop. We've made our chain. Now we're going to stitch our double crochet. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. The first 3 chains will count as 1 double crochet, and now we've made our second foundation double crochet. Yarn over, go through that first chain that you made, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through the first loop. Yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over and go through the next 2. And when you do a foundation double crochet, you're making the chain and the double crochet, and it makes it so much easier to count. Now, one thing that you can do if you're going to do a lot is to mark your stitches every 10 stitches. Yarn over, go in that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first, yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, and go through the next 2. Let's more yarn out here. All right, so let's keep moving. Our chain and then our double crochet. Our chain and then our double crochet. All right, let's see how many we have here. And you will notice that it is a nice stretchy band, and that's going to make the crown fit nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. 9. 10. All right, so I've stitched 10. Our chain 3 counted as our first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'll take my stitch marker and I'll mark that. You can use a paper clip, safety pin, another piece of yarn. It just makes it easier when you're counting. All right, so let's review real quick. I'm making the child size, so I'm going to need 36 foundation double crochets. Now, if you're making the toddler, you need 32. Child 36, youth 40, and adult 44 foundation double crochets. So I'm going to keep going making my foundation double crochets until I have 36 foundation double crochets. I have stitched my 36 foundation double crochets. I marked it every 10 stitches. That way I don't have to go back and recount everything. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out because those are only needed for the first row just as a help. All right, so now I have as many stitches as needed for the size that you're making. We're going to join it into a circle. Make sure that your crown is not twisted. We don't want to twist in our crown. All right, so we're going to join to the first chain 3, 1, 2, 3, with a slip stitch. And we're going to chain 1. Now, before we go any farther, you'll notice that there is a gap here. We're going to come back and use the tail of our yarn to fix that gap when we're finished. All right, so this is how row 1 should look. For row 2, and it doesn't matter what size you're making, we're going to stitch it the same. We're going to stitch a half double crochet in each of the double crochets around. So yarn over, we'll go in our first stitch because our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We'll pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. That's a half double crochet. Yarn over, go in the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. And we'll stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the foundation double crochets around. I also will suggest that at this point, whoever you're making this for, you might go ahead and measure to make sure you have the right number of stitches as well, and that it's going to fit the head that you're making this for. That way you can adjust if needed to a larger or smaller size before you get any farther on in making your crown. So I'm just going to continue on stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the foundation double crochets around. I have completed that row of half double crochets all the way around. We're going to join to the first half double crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. And again, this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. For row 3, we're going to be alternating half double crochet and front post half double crochet all the way around. So we'll yarn over, we'll go in our first half double crochet and stitch our half double crochet. Then we'll yarn over and we'll go in the next half double crochet and we'll go around the post. And the post is the portion of the stitch that's in front. All right, so we'll go in our next half double crochet and stitch a half double crochet. Then we'll go in the next half double crochet and go around the post portion of the stitch and stitch our half double crochet. And we'll do this working all the way around this row. Here's the one we just stitched in the top of. Now we're going to stitch in the post of the next one. And we'll do this working all the way around. And your stitch count will remain the same because we're still stitching the same number of stitches. We're just alternating every other half double crochet with a front post half double crochet. So we have a half, a front post half, a half, a front post half, a half, front post half, working all the way around. Now, it can be very difficult sometimes to get used to doing this and maybe get off with your stitches. And so it's real important to just really watch to make sure that you've got a regular then a post, a regular then a post, working all the way around. And one thing that helps me is to make sure that I follow the stitches on the top. So here's the one we did the front post in. So we're going to do a regular half double crochet in the top. You can see that's the next set of loops. Okay, and those loops go with that stitch, so we're going to do the next stitch of front post. Half double crochet and front post half double crochet. And you'll see how it works with the individual half double crochet in between the front post stitches. And we'll continue to do this all the way around. And again, this is how you do every size. And your stitch count remains the same on the size that you're doing up through row 6. And of course, this is just row 3. We'll continue alternating regular half double crochet and front post all the way around and join back to our first half double crochet. So I've completed my front post and regular half double crochets, alternating, working all the way around. I'm going to join to my first half double crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. And now we're just going to repeat what we did on row 3, but it makes it a lot easier because we can see those front post stitches. All right, so we'll stitch our first half double crochet, and then we know we can go right around that front post double crochet that we just stitched on the previous row. Then we'll do our regular half double crochet in the next stitch, and then our front post half double crochet in the next stitch. There we go. And this makes it easy because we know where we're going to put our stitches. And now those front posts really stand out. All right, so regular half double crochet and front post half double crochet, alternating all the way around. Regular half double crochet, front post half double crochet. And again, we'll do this all the way around our crown. Half double crochet, front post half double crochet. I've completed row 4, stitching a half double crochet and a front post half double crochet, alternating every other stitch. I join to the first half double crochet and chain 1. And so what we're going to do, and this is for all sizes, for row 5 and row 6, is repeat row 4. A regular half double crochet, front post half double crochet, alternating all the way around for 2 more rows. I've completed up through the 6th row, and you can see now how those front post half double crochets really stand out and give it a nice texture across the front. And again, this is the same no matter what size you're making. All right, now for row 7, we're going to make the little points of our crown. All right, so we've joined to the first half double crochet and we've chained 1. And what we're going to do to create those points is we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then in this next stitch, we're going to stitch 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3. We're going to chain 2 and then stitch 3 more right in that same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. We'll skip the next 2 stitches and stitch a single crochet in the next stitch. We'll skip the next 2 stitches and repeat the 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets. Again, we'll skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in the next. So now we have 2 of our points for our crown, and we're going to repeat this 3 more times so that we have a total of 5 crown points. Skip the next 2, 1, 2, and stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Skip 2 and single crochet in the next. So now we have 3, and we're going to repeat this 2 more times so that we have those 5 crown points. I've stitched all 5 of my crown points, and you'll notice there's a gap here. And depending on what size of crown you're making, you'll have a bigger gap here, and it's just an opening that's on the back. Let me show you with this one that is the larger size. You have a larger gap, and that's just the back of the crown. All right, now if you're making a smaller size and you don't want to add another row of the crown points, you don't have to. But if you want to add them, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We're going to go right to this chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 again, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. All right, we'll go to where we added the single crochet and single crochet and the single crochet. Then we'll go to the next crown point and stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Then we'll go to the single crochet and stitch a single crochet. Now this is our center crown point, and what we're going to do on this one is we're going to stitch 3 triple crochets just to make that center point stand up just a little taller. We'll put 2 wraps on our hook. We'll go in, pull up a loop, and you'll have 4 loops instead of 3. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through those last 2. And we'll do that 2 more times for 3. Chain 2 and repeat 3 triple crochets in the same chain 2 space. And see, that one will just stand up just a little bit taller than the other ones because it's the center crown point. Single crochet into single crochet, and then these last 2 will do exactly the same with 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Single crochet into single crochet, and then our last crown point, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. One, 2, and 3. And then we'll single crochet right where we started in that first stitch. There we go. And then I like to slip stitch in the next stitch and tie off. Then we can pull that loop through the next stitch and tie it off to the back. But my string is on the front, so I'm going to bring it to the back as well. I just think it makes a much neater appearance if we can tie off to the back or the inside of our project. There we go. All right, now our crown is finished except for this little gap right over here where we started. So I'm going to thread that tail of yarn on my needle. I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to go in here and gather that closed. Then I'm going to move to the inside of my crown. There we go. My needle is a little bit blunt because I'm using a bigger eyed needle, so it's not as pointed. It makes it a little harder to get through the yarn is all. Alright, so I'm just going to weave this in, going through the stitches and some of the fibers so it stays put, because there's going to be some pulling on that when that gets put on and off ahead. So we want that to stay put. Alright, now I'm ready to clip that off. So here's the blue one, and I switched the buttons because this is a much smaller button, and I think it looks better on the smaller crown. And then I put the big one on the big crown. Now remember, it has 4 sizes, and it's perfect for anybody for their birthday or just playing princess.